Well, welcome back to the UKLC. After a game of League of Legends, Envision have actually ended up winning. We're going to move on to our next game of the day. I don't want to hover on that too much. I feel like we're just beating Enclave down if we do. I think there's been some good moments for them, definitely some positive things to draw, but they need to reset for next week to find some wins. Envision needed the win. It wasn't clean. It wasn't good, but they needed the win and they got it. So
yeah,
it's pretty
especially
much
with Eminem on their heels after the Barrage win. If they lost that one, it'd be very precarious. But they got it. Enclave still putting their best efforts in, but sort of falling at the last hurdle. They still have 4 more games to try and get that one win. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think right now we're going into Fnatic versus Phelan. You did say there was a potential upset chance in this game. I think I think most people, and including yourself, would say it's heavily Fnatic favored, but Phelan have some grit about them.
Yeah, I mean, Eminem managed to do it against Barrage. I think Fnatic Rising, we've seen 2 forms against them. We've seen Fnatic Rising against the teams lower than them in the standings, crushing, dominating, super strong performance. And then Fnatic Rising against XL and Barrage, which just looked a little bit misguided. They just haven't been able to match the pressure in the early game towards the mid game. I think there are some issues. I think Pride has been underperforming. He's often playing weak side. He gets caught out too much. I think in the jungle, Dan is very vulnerable to invades when they don't have priority. So if you play an aggressive jungler, his picks, he's played Zac, he's played Fiddlesticks, he's played Sejuani, vulnerable to invades. I think Felix has picked too many scaling picks at times that have been punished by things like the LeBlanc. And bot lane's been pretty good. I don't have anything really bad to say about bot lane. Bravado, Maddie, good job so far. But the rest of them, little concerns here and there. And there's opportunity for them to be punished because Phelan have had good performances. I think there's been moments of greatness from them. There's still things I'd like them to work on. The sort of coordination at the mid game and onwards from there is something I'd like to see. And also just working in tandem. I think Sawyer's had some rough games, so maybe Raisin sort of helping him to make up the gap between him and Dan, because I do think Dan is a very formidable jungler. And if Sawyer wants to find an advantage over them, it needs to be with the assistance of his teammates as well.
Yeah, and I think one of the things you highlight with Phelan over time, and you probably just touched on it there, was the fact that Raisins hasn't been that in key with kind of roaming. You said it's got better for Phelan over the last few weeks, but they need to be on point versus the absolute pinpoint duo of Dan and Bravado. Sorry that for the delay here. Actually, we won't. You still be messing around the desk. It's because we weren't actually in the lobby, so I was controlling Dan's mouse to get us into the lobby. But we're good to go now. Phelan versus Fnatic, and it's going to be the initial ban of Misfortune to kick things off.
Yeah, and Fnatic Rising normally have really interesting priorities in drafts. So often first picking things like the Sejuani and the Zac, which is a little bit out there. But we'll see what happens in this situation. Feeling there's a lot of things you potentially could look to ban that they have priority on, but they're going to start with some just standard power picks in the Misfortune and the Syndra.
I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense. Matty absolutely crushed on Misfortune yesterday. It was one of the dominating performances from the team. Syndra is always a solid ban. If Dragain is not comfortable first picking Syndra, then you just have to ban it on blue side. It's a bit of a weakness being on blue side where you have to ban the Syndra. But
I don't think this is necessarily him not being able to first pick it though. I think this is just they have other
game plan. Yeah.
They have other ideas in mind because obviously you only have one first pick. Anything you don't ban and you don't first pick will obviously get passed over to the other team. So I think this is a situation where they're assessing what do we think Fnatic want to get their hands on and what do we want to prioritize with that holy grail of that first pick that could potentially turn this matchup. Right now, Ophelia is still open and available with Senna, Misfortune banned, and Draven actually going to be denied from Jack Spectre. He's had some huge Aphelios games, so I could potentially see that coming out as a first pick in this situation, but instead going towards that set.
It's going to be the set. The Kalista was hovered over. I don't know if you saw a tweet from Yamato Cannon earlier, but he was basically saying that the Shy has been playing Kalista top, essentially going Sanguine Blade first, and just like monstering people.
I did see that. Not super relevant.
No, I know. It was just a little tidbit because the Kalista came.
Well, there you go. Potentially, yeah. Maybe that's
It was just fun story time.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you for your fun story. Aatrox and Set.
It's definitely not relevant to this game.
Aatrox and Set matchup we've seen a lot.
Yeah, and it's going to be the Dan lock-in of the Zac as well.
Yeah, Fnatic Rising again. They pick the champions in order of. They pick the top lane. They pick the jungler.
My heart's just broken.
I'm sorry.
I'm joking. They don't break.
Feeling okay. So Aphelios is still open and available as an option, but my concern here is you're playing into a Zac. So what can you pick that's going to provide you safety against the Zac? I would actually potentially like to see you take the Thresh here, or if you lead it till a later rotation, you could potentially take take something else that could threaten it. I know Poppy support actually works really well
absolutely.
into the Zac, but basically I feel like it's not going to be the standard protection of having the Braum or the Tom Kench, because Braum's really bad in the Zac. He does nothing against him really. Tom, at least you can swallow Jack Spectre up, but if he hits both of you, it's going to be an issue, and they do lock in the Thresh, so good job.
Thresh
That's what I like to see.
Yeah, Thresh is probably the easiest one, and the one that suits Raisins the best.
I think he's one of the strong blinds as well, because he doesn't. I feel like he can hold his own if you're good enough on the champion against most melee supports, and he can also punish. So if the enemy team thinks, oh, you pick Thresh, you're going to go Yuumi or Lulu, you can actually punish those. And we see the Varus come out from Maddie, so after offering a bit more engage, because obviously you're kind of limited. If the Zac can't use his engage tools, so you want the sort of Varus as a follow-up, as something that can sort of set things up for the Zac when obviously he can't just dive in against the Flay. And now Fnatic Rising going to target the junglers here. I feel like Phelan might well look towards the supports. I think Braum definitely could be one, or Tom Kench, also a viable option. But actually going to start off with the Leona. Can make sense, because even with the Flay, you can only flay one thing. It's either Leona or the Zac, and you'll get taken down by either. So limiting what Bravado sort of prioritizes here.
Pressure coming out onto Sawyer, though, something that he will always default to is going to be that Jarvan, and it's been some of the best performances that he's had has been on that particular champion.
Now, something that you could pick into the Zac, which we haven't seen, is the Trundle. And the reason being is that you can Trundle Pillar to block his jump, and then obviously the ult, great against tanks. So be interested to see if we see that one come out from Phelan. Just a little tidbit, throwing one of those little, possibly not relevant for the draft. But
no, but actually more relevant than me randomly talking about Callisto when it got hovered. So
it could have been. Maybe they put the set jungle.
That would be classic.
I'm throwing you a bone here. Throwing you a bone. Either way, in this situation, I expect to see the support picked up for Bravado. Could still go towards something like Nautilus, or could go the Braum. Braum not the greatest matchup, but it works really well with the Varus. And they're just going to go for the Tom Kench. So again, this is another lane that works really well with the Varus. Great into the Thresh. I think for the matchup, this is better. Although you don't have as much skirmishing power, it stops that Thresh hook from being as threatening. And then for Phelan, they need their jungle and their mid laner. So looking towards, there's a lot of options in the jungle. Sejuani's been banned away, unfortunately. Jarvan and Gragas. Lee Sin's still open as a possibility. It depends when you want to be aggressive.
It's something that Sawyer will pick. Lee Sin has been one of his better picks as well. Let's have a look though. I mean, what do you think? Maybe it's going to be Ziggs. Yes. So the Ziggs comes out again, seeing a lot more play actually over the last couple of days.
I think Ziggs is really strong.
Yeah.
I think especially against a mobile carries like the Varus, really powerful at punishing them, because you can throw the ult down. Obviously he has Bravado to keep him safe, but if that Devour isn't available, it will just chunk him out. Now the question is going to be, what does Sawyer want to take in this situation into the Zac? Feel like you could potentially look to pressure him early, or something that would outscale. Rek'Sai does definitely pressure him early, but falls off pretty heavily, especially against the team comp as a whole of Fnatic Rising. Just kind of loses its effectiveness as it goes on.
Yeah, absolutely, especially versus Tom Kench, who's able to keep those single target focuses very, very, very safe. We'll see what Fnatic look to close out with. Obviously, MagiFelix not really known for playing the aggressive mid lane. He's more of like a classic control mage player. So, maybe just go toe-to-toe with the Ziggs here, find something they can at least match. Although I say that, I don't want to make any assumptions, because it's going to be the Echo locked in.
Yeah, pretty bold one. This means they have a ton of dive available to their team composition. And this is sort of a switch up between Phelan have the backline. They have the Nephilios, they have a Ziggs. You keep them protected, you win. On the other side, Fnatic Rising have a ton of engage and dive, and they're looking to punish this backline from Phelan. Now, I feel like there's more early tools on the side of Phelan, because the Thresh is always going to be more proactive. They have the Rek'Sai as well, who's extremely strong. But Fnatic in the later stages, if they can get on top of those carries, they can just flat out win this.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. I'm expecting Fnatic to win, just based on pure skill alone. I don't want to really oversell the matchup. I think Fnatic are definitely favored in this instance. But I mean, when you have the late game scaling of an Aphelios Ziggs, if you can delay the early game, sometimes Fnatic haven't been able to take over the early games. It might be possible.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility in this matchup. I think the draft hasn't sometimes we do say the draft is kind of make it very difficult for you to win this one. I don't think this has done this in this situation. I do feel like Fnatic have adapted pretty well. They've got good dive to deal with the backline, because I feel like although they could have taken something for MagiFelix, a lot of these mages that scale up like Cassiopeia, they struggle into the Ziggs because of the range discrepancy.
Yeah.
And I feel like in this situation, they've got a pretty intelligent draft. It just means that typically the early pressure is quite low, which is what we sort of see from from Fnatic, but even the Sejuani Leona had more aggression than Tom Kent Zac. So it'll be interesting to see how this one pans out, because 1v1 in the jungle, Zac, you max the elastic slingshot first for that extra range on it.
Yep.
That's completely negated by a Rek'Sai, because you can just unburrow to block it, which kind of mitigates how effective it can be.
I mean, Fnatic have the 1-3-1 available to them. It's just a classic way that you play with Aatrox.
True,
Echo.
but it's a Ziggs.
Yeah, like I
With
said,
TP.
Ziggs will just clear side lanes
Yeah,
really
he can
easily.
just, as long as he can't be dived by Echo, he'll just throw all his bombs at the wave, done.
I guess it depends on how far Felix can get ahead, though, right?
Yeah, but I feel like if Felix is super fed, then you just win.
You just win anyway. Yeah, you can play the game. You can play the game however you want.
Yeah, I mean, if Echo's too far ahead for, it's like if Pride gets super far ahead in Aatrox and starts dumpstering Battery in the side lane, then sure. But I feel like if they're even, then they don't just default win by 1-3-1. There are some compositions where they do, but Ziggs is actually okay in the side lane because he has TP, he has a Mega Inferno Bomb if he needs to leave, and then he can also just blow up the wave instantly. And he's actually notoriously hard to dive because you can throw the mines down, you can potentially pick up Zhonya's if you need it, and then you have the Satchel as well, which can buy a lot of time and space. So definitely not a defaulto win for Fnatic here. They're not looking to take this one against Phelan. And with Barrage actually dropping a game, if Fnatic win this one, they will tie for second.
Yeah, I think Barrage still have the head-to-head, though, so they'd have the head-to-head win, just keeping them. But in terms of score, absolutely.
In terms of scoreline, yeah. Which means that potentially when they match up next time,
Fnatic
they could
take the spot, yeah.
Yeah, they could pull out ahead, which would be pretty big because there's been this hierarchy where XL top 1 point, Barrage 1 point, Fnatic, and that could be broken today.
And Fnatic have been gaining confidence, I think, over their games since they had those losses to XL and Barrage. And yesterday was the most dominant win that we had of the day when they beat out Enclave, was it?
No, because Enclave had a close game yesterday.
No, who did they beat out yesterday?
Demise.
No, they played Demise. They absolutely crushed Demise yesterday. It was the most dominant game of the day.
And it has typically been like that. When Fnatic plays a weaker team, they do kind of crush them, which makes me interested for their rematches against Barrage and XL, because I feel like Fnatic has transformed quite a bit over the split. At first, they were heavily leaning on scaling. When they first beat Demise, they played this heavy scaling composition, and they kind of just won with the Soraka Vladimir because they were better, but I don't feel like that would work against teams like Barrage and XL, and it didn't. When they played scaling against XL, they got crushed. But I feel like their drafts have shifted. They often give themselves more tools to contest the early game. Felix has been picking mages that do have priority, like his Echo can contest it in the mid lane. And if he does follow to assist his jungler, he is a force to be reckoned with. So I feel like Fnatic definitely in a better spot than they were at the start of the split.
Actually trying to go in there, flare away from Raisins, but actually a good trade for Fnatic overall. Gets a couple of basic attacks weaved in with that hail of arrows.
Yeah, Varus trading power extremely strong level 1, as is the Tom Kench with that tongue lash. So going to be feeling the hurt a little bit there, but Battery trading heavily onto Pride.
Yeah, I mean, Battery has been one of the standout players, I think, for Phelan.
And the counterpoint, Pride, not being the best player on Fnatic. Had some rough moments. We had that joke yesterday about, even against Demise,
when something went right, Pride dies.
Yeah, Pride just died. He was just dying constantly, and he was playing weak side. I think that's the thing. When you're playing weak side, there are going to be situations where you have to back off. You have to accept that you're not in a favorable spot, and they didn't really do that. And Engage actually comes in on a bravado here.
He's just dead, surely. Sawyer going to find the unburrow here. Flashes to make sure. First blood goes to Phelan.
And you saw the ward was there, and Mighty started back away, but the critical hook had come in from Raisins. An interesting take here. Bravado didn't go the cleanse. So often we see the Tom Kench go cleanse against things like Thresh. So if the hook goes on Maddie, you eat him. If the hook goes on you, you use the cleanse. But here he went for the ignite for more lane pressure, and it has cost him his life. So kill goes over to Sawyer. He does have to burn his flash for that one, though. Just wasn't able to quite close the gap.
Right, taking some better trades here for Bez's Beartree, but Beartree finds that opportunity to just fight back. Once the Q is down, he'll just go straight in and search for those fights.
Yeah, Felix made a little move down towards the river with his TP to try and assist his team in establishing pressure. I do believe the Skull Crab still went over to Phelan, but they had to back away from that presence. And Dragain's going to match with the TP, get a second Doran's for that extra mana regeneration. Also helps with CSing as the extra physical damage to minions does stack. So you're now doing 10 more, which is nice. But
always good on mages.
Absolutely. And the big thing is with the Ziggs, you can farm up an absolute storm and just scale so well. The ultimate later on does so much damage. It can just, in one ability, just nearly completely kill xMatty, and it will chunk him down to the point where he just has to back out the fight.
Bertrier is just constantly looking to be aggressive here. Hasn't really generated huge leads over Pride, I will say that. Despite winning the trades, Pride just happy to sustain back up as Aatrox can do. And you can see, I think they're very well aware that Sawyer is in their jungle. As Zach now moves down, Pride gonna go in and find a couple of Qs here. Oh, Sawyer! I think you're dead here, mate. Dan is gonna flash. Slows down. Can't find anything to attack, though. My Sawyer might actually get out. Beartree now going to be the focus. The first Q misses, the second Q lands. Is Beartree going to flash? Nope, has the face breaker. So he's fine.
MagiFelix coming in. No cooldowns for Beartree. Heavy trade in the bot lane.
And Raisin's just dead. Bravado probably going to be dying too, but I think Matty's going to get a double kill here. And he will. Jack Spectre goes down. In the meantime, they do get their kill onto Beartree. Fnatic bite back against the Bears.
Yeah, great 2v2 in the bot lane. Ultimately, enough time bought by Matty blocking the Calibrium Q. Keeps Bravado alive for too long for Jack Spectre taking enough damage so that Matty ends up getting the double. Well, not the double, but he gets both kills secured in that situation. And he's now massively up in farm. So we talked about Fnatic's bot lane being the solid performers of the roster. They're doing that so far, although Bravado has ended up dying twice. And there's a good roam from MagiFelix on the Echo. This is why I like to see him on champions that can be a bit more proactive, because you can make plays like these in a skirmish that Phelan managed to get away from relatively unscathed. They do catch them out, but now they're looking for Matty. He has flash.
Raisin's going to go for the hook. Matty little dive back.
I like how Sawyer wasn't even confident on him getting the hook. He didn't even take the lantern. He's like, you're not going to hit it. It's xMatty. Come on.
Yeah, little backstab there for xMatty, and he dodges out very nicely. Lane can get frozen now, I think, though, for Jack Spectre. He can freeze it just outside his turret range. xMatty just going to head back down towards mid to begin with to see if he can do anything helpful there, and then probably head back down with Bravado towards the bot side of the map.
You can see both supports in the vicinity as their junglers are farming camps, just looking to contest the vision in that area.
Oh,
Bravado, no flash.
Level 3 as well.
But they're so scared of going for him. They don't know who could be backing him up, and I think neither of them having flash really dictates why they won't go aggressive there, because Bravado definitely could have died. But they back away, and now Matty has moved into mid already to catch the wave.
Just because they've frozen it at that bottom side of the map is not what else you can do.
Yeah, I think they're transitioning the pressure into trying to get this dragon, I would assume. But right now, you see an opportunity where Jack Spectre is just catching up on that farm, which is pretty important because there was a massive discrepancy before.
I mean, I think they have to go for dragon here, right? Because otherwise, yeah, this wave is not.
Will eventually.
It's going to push now.
It's pretty hard to keep it frozen forever.
Yeah.
Unless there was a massive wave stacked up against you.
All right, well, xMatty did stuff with his time when he was away from that frozen lane, and now we'll start to push back towards them, still maintaining a pretty solid CS advantage over his opponent number.
There's a lot of vision control on the bot side river is what was secured with the time, and that makes it pretty scary to step up in this situation. Now, they do have the Thresh to deal with the Zac.
Ultimate hits, Elastic Slingshot. Sorry, ultimate misses, Elastic Slingshot misses as well. Dan, going to chill. Not going to be able to get much from this as Jack Spectre is a target. He will just pop down a turret.
A bit too far, taking a lot of damage essentially for free in that situation. He just kind of lost out that trade, despite avoiding the gank. And that could potentially set up MagiFelix to go for a roam. He has the Hextech Revolver, so might have enough burst just to kill Jack Spectre, but I think he's just happy taking away the tunnels, getting a bit of vision, and moving back. And right now, looks like Phelan might potentially set up for the dive, but instead they're opting to go for the Herald. Just stepping out of that stun at the last second. He's actually built up a bit of CS lead. MagiFelix been moving away from his lane. It's allowed the Ziggs to farm up. He's at that 10 CS per minute point. And yeah, you love to see that on the Ziggs.
Yeah, you do indeed. It's one of the things that you can do, just constantly clear waves for free. Ziggs is broken.
No Chains of Corruption here, but Dan does have his ult now.
He does have his ultimate. I think they're just coming to look to put pressure down here where they can. I think Jack Spectre also popping down the turret to zone them away from a tower dive potential. Raisins with a good flay onto Dan, and xMatty gets pulled in immediately. The turret's going to zone him out once more. This dive has not gone fantastically so far. The first kill will go over to Bravado. I think Jack Spectre will pick up another one. Yeah, and the bomb's going to kill him too. That was a poor dive there. Bravado's going to die as well. That is a double kill. A terrible dive.
I'm not sure what you expected. You lost the Chains of Corruption, so all you had was the Zac jump. I mean, it wasn't even like it was a difficult fog of war play. He leaped out over Bravado and Matty, and it was very obvious he was coming. I got to praise Jack Spectre and Raisins for reacting as they should, kiting back, using the turret, and the Crescendum turrets came in clutch there. But Fnatic, what was that?
It was terrible. It was just actually strictly terrible from Fnatic. And we're not used to seeing terrible from Fnatic, but you did mention that this is potentially a game that could be an upset.
Yeah.
And Phelan definitely off to a good start. The draft working well for them. Jack Spectre 3-1-2, by the way, on this Aphelios, one of the champions that he's had some excellent performances on now. MagiFelix has to be careful, but he'll be fine. He has that ultimate. He has that dodge and dip.
Yeah, I think with the ultimate for MagiFelix, there just isn't enough damage from Dragain to actually kill him, especially not with the ultimate available. But Dragain gets a kill for walking a couple of steps outside his lane, which he's happy about. He's at 100 CS. The Ziggs is in a great spot. Yes, Jack Spectre is still down in farm, but he got 3 kills now.
He is down 30 CS though.
I mean, if you take a look at the gold, I think that means he's going to be about even. Yeah, so
just ever so slightly ahead. 30 gold up.
So basically even. That's in a good spot. Mid lane is ahead. Jungle is ahead for Phelan. Top lane is 100 behind, not much in it, and support 100 behind. So Phelan overall, they have their carries ahead, which is the critical thing. Ahead or even. That's a good start. This is what you can ask for from this lineup.
Best case scenario for Phelan so far, realistically. And I think M&M will be eyeing this. They'll be eyeing this matchup pretty heavily, as well as Envision. Because if Fnatic loses here, obviously you talked about the opposite effect. If Fnatic win, they're putting pressure on Barrage, putting pressure on XL. If they lose, suddenly Envision and M&M are looking at this saying, wait a second, we have gap closing potential.
And it raises a lot of questions as well about the strength of Fnatic going towards playoffs.
And the European Masters.
I think a lot of people had this expectation that when it came to the end of the split, Fnatic would suddenly go, right, we're done playing. But we're not seeing it yet. It still looks like they're playing around a little bit.
MagiFelix behind, as you'd expect, just doing all of that roaming with only just 1 kill to his name to show for it. I think 20 CS is usually what's considered equivalent to a kill, though Dan goes into the bot lane, Soya's already there, Matty gets the initial shutdown, finally have the ultimates in tandem to work together. Dan will back off, they'll pick up that shutdown most importantly as well, which will go all of that gold onto X-Matty, and they may even pick up some extra turret plates to boot. That's the combo that you need to make that work effectively. This time they did have the ultimates to make it go down. Yeah,
and I think Frazen's not quite on point there, flaying away Dan from that situation. Ultimately, with the Chains of Corruption, things are a lot easier to pull off. Getting chunked down a bit, but he'll just be okay. But yeah, Chains of Corruption hitting from X-Matty was a critical thing. This is why I really like this Varus pick here, because the Zac into the Thresh isn't a surefire thing. But with the Varus, the setup is a lot easier to execute on, and they're able to get that Dragon, get a play bot lane in a pretty solid spot.
MagiFelix forced to use the ultimate mid, but that's no big deal. It'll be back off cooldown moderately soon. Just stops himself getting picked off there by Sawyer. Dragain has a CS and a small experience advantage. MagiFelix did just hit 10 to catch up, but I think Dragain has been 10 for a little bit now, so it's going well for the mid lane. That Ziggs with a kill and also with a good CS lead. This is Ziggs in a nutshell. He's very difficult to stop the farm. He's very difficult to prevent him from scaling. He's one of the more difficult mages, the more difficult ranged mages to punish.
Yeah, absolutely is. And we just see the Herald thrown down bot lane. This is a, oh wait, I still have the Herald. Oh, it's about to run out. I guess I'll throw a bot play. Not normally the one we like to see, but Dan was on the top side of the map when it was thrown down, so he's going to be a little bit slow to react. Stopwatch actually misplay from X-Matty.
He thought he was getting hooked there, but he does have Bravado to bail him out.
And they get the plates, so they get the effectiveness from that Herald. Dragain's moved down here. Zac's looking.
It's going to be Dan. Good play this time round. It is followed up by the Chains of Corruption straight onto Sawyer, who's forced to flash. Double teleport coming down. We've got a hold down in the bot lane. 5 versus 5. Jack Spectre stuck in the alcove. Pride is going to jump in. I think Jack Spectre is now the sacrificial lamb for Phelan as Pride finally finds some kind of impact here in this game, and a good teleport reaction from him will allow Fnatic to take 1 for nothing and avoid that bot lane turret going down.
Yeah, ultimately no Lantern available from Raisins to save Jack Spectre in that situation. His flash coming up soon, but not yet available. He dies again. They did manage to get those 2 plates with the Rift Herald charge, so there's a consolation. They beat the stopwatch from X-Matty. An uncharacteristic mistake, and honestly, even if you got hooked, you have Bravado to eat you, so... Oh, satchel charge. Yeah, that's the power of the Ziggs. You get the tower low, and it's very easy to finish off.
MagiFelix doing what he can. I think Sawyer's just going to smite that away. He spent so long killing it and just gets taken off his hands. That's the issue with going up against a jungler when you're taking up the Rift Scuttler. What I will say is, I don't know what I was going to say. I was
What I will say is
it was actually something that's completely irrelevant. It was more like something that I really like the little combo on that Aphelios can pull off is when you've got, I think it's Severum, is that the long-range sniper?
that's Calibrum.
Calibrum. When you've got Calibrum and then you have with Gravitem, then you can get the nice sort of long-range root off, which is why I think Matty forced that stopwatch, because he was very, very, very scared of just being locked up.
But you have a Tom Kench.
Yes, it's very true. Yeah.
That was my point about that one. I feel like with the Tom Kench, you weren't forced. Even if the hook hit, you would have been okay. So the big cooldown and burn. And now playing aggressive, Herald is a focus here. Mai's looking for something on a Sawyer.
Mai didn't quite, I don't think he quite got the blast cone that he wanted in that situation. Bravado actually saves his life if the flash comes through from Jack Spectra. That will give up Jack Spectra's life as Pride comes through, but he does get a double kill for his efforts. Now Pride continue on to Raisins here. Does find the lockup and be another kill.
Huck doesn't quite connect.
I know, it's another kill for Pride. It's just fantastic for Pride, if I'm honest with you. He's now 3-0-1. This is kind of the performance that he would have been hoping to have through numerous games, and it's finally him stepping up to the table where needed.
Yeah, he was the member who we'd criticized the underperformer in the last game, but here he's stepping up, where Xmati's struggling to stay alive, where Bravado getting caught out quite a bit. Pride is delivering on this Aatrox, and we've seen how much presence an Aatrox can have in the game. Now, Drain is in the vicinity, just going to try and poke them a bit, but he's scared of Magifelix moving over, so he's going to back off, and Fnatic should get this Herald pretty easily, and it may well help them secure their first tower, because they're yet to take one at 15 minutes.
Yeah, they unfortunately haven't had much opportunity to do so. They did got quite a lot of plates, but unfortunately no towers to work with. It is only a 600 gold lead, by the way, for Fnatic, so still a very even game. I think a lot of that is coming down to that mid lane, but actually, I will say, Magifelix has caught up quite nicely, just dedicating a bit of time to the side waves, and obviously you know that Dragain joining in more of the team fights and missing more of the waves means he's kind of lost that 30 CS advantage that he did have.
Yeah, well, to a degree, but he's still sort of exceeding that 10 CS per minute. I think it is a lot of Magifelix closing the gap. Although I will say that Dragain was farming jungle camps consistently, so hasn't been able to do that is the factor.
Yeah.
But right now, I think we can have a look at the gold. I think this is a good time to take stock of things, because top lane, there's going to be a massive discrepancy. It'll be interesting to see. I think Matty has pulled ahead now of Jack Spectra, having caught up some kills and kept that CS lead big. Mid still in favor of Phelan. Jungle pretty even, but yeah, 1,000+ gold advantage still there in the mid lane. And actually, Aatrox got out here.
He has a flash and pop the ultimate to back away. Dan does find a nice ultimate here. A good bounce means that Jack Spectra goes down to a turret shot. And I think Raisins might die to Magifelix as the Q comes out. Magifelix flashes to make it work, and this is still a great fight. Bear Tree does find the shutdown in combination with Dragain, but he will go down as well. Magifelix continuing to try and pressure Sawyer here, who I think just buying time, allowing them to go for the mid lane turret is going to be the aim for Magifelix, because that is just summoned the Rift Herald in the mid, and with Dan threatening Dragain, threatening the dive, there's no way that you can defend easily in this situation.
Yeah, just a big overstay coming out, in all honesty, from Phelan. Actually, Bravado could die.
He might die, but the flash is forced. Dan does get a good elastic slingshot to make Dragain worry about his position.
Yeah, pretty hard to interrupt that dash with the satchel charge. You have to be super quick on it or already have it in place. But Dragain, pretty strong on this Ziggs, just putting down the damage consistently. And I believe his plan is here to walk up to this tower, throw down a satchel, and say sayonara.
Soon. There we go. Gets it. Power of Ziggs, everyone. You don't even need the wave to work with.
Well, don't even need the wave, but the response from Fnatic is that Magifelix will get a tower in this situation, and we're starting to pull ahead a little bit in gold right now after that fight in the mid lane. A pretty significant advantage.
Awkward reset from Fnatic after that fight does mean that they lose the dragon. Not something that I think they'll be too stressed about, but what it does do is unfortunately delay that dragon soul. So more time for Phelan to find that scaling, and specifically more time for Dragain, who has been, can you say impressive on Ziggs? I mean, I feel like he's pretty easy to execute on, but he's been impressive, right?
He's done his job. You know, I've seen bad Ziggs before, so I definitely will praise when he's doing pretty solid, being consistent, especially up against Magifelix, who has been one of the premier mid laners for the UK League for the last year. Has managed to close that CS gap to be neck and neck with the Ziggs, but 2-0-2. Now picked up the Andrews. There's a lot of damage available to the Ziggs, and it does scale almost endlessly. That is a big factor for Phelan, the Ziggs and the Aphelios in the late game are really hard to deal with. I mean, the Ziggs at any point. I mean, just look at him. He doesn't even need to walk near the wave.
It's just insane, the range that he has and the ability to clear waves out almost endlessly as well. It's definitely looking good for Dragain so far. And remember, they have split into the 1-3-1 here, Fnatic, so MagiFelix is pressuring a side lane. But as you said, it's going to be so easy at some point for Dragain to just say, fine, I'll just clear waves, that's fine. MagiFelix has to be careful. The hook there from Raisins comes through. I don't even think he's going to be able to... Oh, yes, he will, but it's not going to get much done. Stun comes through. 8 seconds. MagiFelix now he's down.
650 gold in the pocket of Sawyer. Would have loved to have that on Jack Spectra, but ultimately the CC chain got enough damage down on him. Even with the ult, he wasn't able to get away. And a good pick from Phelan. This is something we saw Eminem do quite a bit when they started to come back, was whenever someone's in a side lane, they threaten them consistently. A lot of the stronger teams in the league, like Barrage and Fnatic here, they like to apply that side lane pressure, and it feels like Eminem and Phelan's response has been to punish them, to make picks on them, and they're going to be rewarded with a tower here. Good
vision control around the Baron area, which has kind of led to that MagiFelix pick as well. There's almost nothing there for Fnatic. Fnatic have focused their eyes on the bot side of the map, maybe to provide some pressure for Pride so that he doesn't get caught out through red side rotations.
Yeah, so they cover one of their split pushes, but not the other. I think they maybe expected MagiFelix a lot harder to pick. They actually does back off, respecting the pressure from Pride and Dan, who was hovering. So they give up the tower, and it is a trade, but Phelan hold up pretty well so far in this game. I'd say the biggest issue right now is the item discrepancy between AD carries.
Yes.
We have Blade of the Moon King, Rage Blade for Varus.
And those are expensive items.
That's like the peak spike.
Yeah.
You know, that is the big spike. And then Jack Spectra has got Essence Reaver, and he actually went for the Zeal second. So I really feel like Infinity Edge is where you hit a big spike for Jack Spectra. Runans is a great follow-up, and that's your core items. But I feel like if you have to go the Runans before the Infinity Edge, your damage just is kind of lacking, because the attack speed in Aphelios, it's not really that great. Might have found Raisins.
Nah, Dragain. Oh, wait a second. MagiFelix. Rather even Matty going in. They're going to get a kill onto Raisins here pretty easily. Dan will pick it up. I thought maybe Dragain was going to ward them back, but MagiFelix... I keep saying MagiFelix instead of Matty. Matty finds the Chains of Corruption at max range, and they do pick up the kill.
Yeah, pretty hard to get away from the situation, so Thresh, quite vulnerable when you're sort of going forwards. I feel like this is, again, that issue that I talked about earlier in the split about Sawyer and Raisins working in tandem. If it's Sawyer face checking, he has a dash to get away, and then you can also lantern him out. So I feel like they should have been working together to try and get the vision control, especially as Sawyer has that tremor sense available to him. For now, though, Fnatic going to clear out the vision towards his Baron pit, potentially hovering on start, and it will force the Scrying Orb. But they still have tools to check it. Mega Inferno Bomb does give vision, so that's always an option if you think the enemy team's doing Baron. Also does a ton of damage, so...
yeah, that also helped.
That too.
It didn't really look like Fnatic were threatening Baron, though, off the back of that Scrying Orb.
They just wanted vision control for it. Yeah. So they're happy to just try and work their way up and get some vision. And now you see Sawyer and Raisins working together towards the Baron. So Sawyer goes ahead. Raisins will sort of clear the vision behind. So Sawyer moves ahead and makes sure it's safe, and then Raisins can clear the vision. If Sawyer gets in trouble, Raisins can help him out. And this is the better way to do it. So better coordination, less likely to get picked out, and it's nice to see that Raisins' lane is less than after getting killed that last time.
Yeah, like I said, it's...
and then he walks forward by himself, but does fortunately get out of that one.
Dan told me off a lot for that today when we were playing some solo queue. I have the Raisins effect where I'll just run up by myself with no real thought about it.
A little bit cautious. I think the fact he had vision on X-Mighty and Bravado was a big factor there.
Maybe didn't think there were that many members that were going to blow him up.
That's why waves are really important, playing around them, because if you see someone catching a wave, you know whether you can go aggressive or not. But now, Fnatic looking to pressure this mid lane tower. They've seen massive numbers topside. Ziggs has a lot of wave clear, but if they do dive him, he might well just go down. He's already ulted the wave.
Oh, that was a poor flash from Dragain, but can they follow up here? Pride, very happy to try and do so. They will get the kill. Dan will flash to make sure it happens.
Solo killed by the Zac. That's a Sunfire buff coming in there. And yeah, they left Dragain alone, and he ends up getting caught out. They won't have the wave to deal with the tower because of the Mega Inferno Bomb that came in before, but they get the kill, they get the shutdown, and Phelan not really doing much to take this tower.
You can see those turrets coming out. MagiFelix doing his best to trade back here. Lots of damage onto Sawyer. This could be a potential 2v1 situation, although tower goes down and MagiFelix doesn't, so he's probably pretty happy with that, and he's bought enough time for the Dragon.
Yeah, he bought cooldowns. I think they would have got the Dragon anyway, but he gets the stopwatch and the flash from Sawyer by investing very little himself, so nice play from him. 2,000 still the goal lead for Fnatic. They got the second Dragon there. It's an Infernal Soul, which is actually... It's great if Ziggs gets it, but the map is actually really bad for Ziggs. And the reason being is because it cuts the terrain down. One of the big strengths of Ziggs is that you can throw down that minefield, and the enemy team just can't walk through it because you take so much damage.
There are more avenues in the jungle to work
Yeah,
with.
so now it's more prevalent in the blue side jungle. But basically, if one of the paths is blocked, so yeah, thank you very much, Observer, for moving over. If you see where Raisins is standing, if that is blocked, normally you have to walk all the way around to get to the other path. Now it's a very short sort of route through. So Ziggs not actually as good at blocking paths off when that terrain's been removed. And now, potentially, that was Dan looking, but the Mega Inferno Bomb just going to be thrown to contest the wave.
It's on a moderately short cooldown as well, so he won't be too...
Yeah, it's actually gets really short with the cooldown as well, and most Ziggs are running the Transcendence in their runes, so he'll be at 30% right now. Potentially 35 if he also goes Cosmic Insight, which is a moderately common rune on Ziggs.
Yeah, it's already half off cooldown, so happy to throw that to clear a wave or two when he needs to. Fnatic still kind of just posing around the Baron. They haven't really found sweeping advantages like they did versus Demise. I've got to say, Phelan have kept their own quite nicely. I do think a lot of that has come down to Dragain specifically, just doing farming a Storm and having a good game on the Ziggs so far. However, Jack Spectre are way up by himself, getting caught up by Bravado here. Soyo is going to be immediately zoned out by the Echo, and I think Jack Spectre will just pay for it with his life.
Why is he there?
That's what I'm asking. That's the question I was going for. Raisins will not follow up on that hook. Good boy. That's not a good hook to take.
I mean, if that was a different situation where it was Raisins standing there with a lantern, more forgivable. But Jack Spectre being there, just extremely greedy, gets caught out by a nice rotation. Again, the Infernal Soul means it's very quick to cut through the jungle with the walls removed. And now they're posturing for Baron. They know it's not being done, so they shouldn't face check in this situation. Actually, it's been started with only 2 members.
Yeah, they got a bit of the health there. Dan looking for a big fight. Obviously, Dragain has no flash right now. Does get a nice lantern out and will avoid the stun from Magi Felix, but he is being zoned away pretty fantastically, so not getting much time to do any damage, and he will go down. Bear Tree will follow. That is a nice little cleanup. They picked up Raisins too. That should be a free Baron for Fnatic.
Yeah, just a massive misplay from Jack Spectre to be in that position. Really shouldn't be allowed, and Fnatic do punish it. And now they'll start the Baron more sincerely with 4 members on it. They did start the Baron in that situation, but it was just Matty and Bravado. And I feel like it was kind of obvious that they wanted to find a fight before they went for that. It's just Jack Spectre and Soya, and I don't think they can contest this one with Pride acting as a bodyguard. So Baron goes down. Fnatic now 7,000 gold, just shy of it ahead.
And I think Matty will finish up his Bloodthirster here as well. So he's now very tanky.
Very hard to kill.
And very hard to kill with lots of lifesteal. And I think he's in a great spot this game. This is finally Fnatic putting their foot to the gas to say, hey, let's take this game, let's accelerate. They're a little way off the Dragon Soul, but 1 minute 42 the next Dragon spawns. And I'm not really sure Phelan are in a good position to contest right now. I mean, they have started to shut down Dragain. Once you do burn that flash...
pick here.
They may be going for a pick. Pride is definitely overextending with very little vision.
And that's definitely the game plan here.
It looks like it. He'll be hard to kill, but no one else from Fnatic is there to help protect him.
They want him to walk through the brush, but he just isn't going to. So they're going to give up on the pick, and Dragain
is dead because he hasn't got flash. So he's just gone. They'll actually give the
problem is they keep leaving the Ziggs alone. You have this Thresh who's great appealing, but you just keep leaving Dragain alone on the Ziggs, and he can't do anything against the Zac. The Zac has such great engage. Satcheling the jump just isn't feasible when it comes out the Fog of War. And all this time they spend trying to look for picks is just giving up pressure in the rest of the map. They do look for Magi Felix.
Magi Felix does get ulted away, immediately uses the Zhonya's to buy some time. He won't go down because Pride teleports in. And Pride should get another kill here. Matty on a rampage, looking to go heavy onto Jack Spectre. Will snipe him out. A double kill for him as Pride picks up another. I think we could just be looking at game here potentially. There is the potential for Dragain to stop things out, but there's 2 waves now shoving in. This is going to be good for Fnatic.
With the Baron minions as well. 5 members against 1. Even Ziggs wave clear isn't that good. He'll throw the ult down just for a bit of show, but ultimately this will be game for Fnatic.
28 minutes, I was saying how even it felt for like the first 25 almost, but Fnatic, off the back of a single Baron, end the game versus Phelan, and some, again, individual mistakes, realistically, is what we're looking at here, but congratulations to Fnatic. They'll keep their contention for second place alive versus Barrage, and they'll take another win.
Yeah, definitely some misplays in that one. This wasn't a super clean Fnatic game. We saw that dive bot lane from Dan, which was a big question mark, but ultimately they performed well coming out of that. They found favorable skirmishes. Dan Zac was a constant menace for this back line.
You can see why they're prioritizing that for
Yeah,
him.
and the setup around Baron was pretty solid as well. So a good game, not as one-sided as we've seen against other teams from Fnatic. It wasn't as one-sided as their game against Demise. Feeling definitely a little bit of life, but ultimately weren't able to hold up. And this kind of keeps things interesting for Fnatic going up against XL and Barrage again, because they're looking better than they did at the start of the split. And I think Barrage, obviously taking their loss earlier, is a sort of a big sign that maybe Fnatic can be looking to challenge them.
Yeah, well, they're now equal in score. The head-to-head does lie with Barrage, so they are technically still second, but they are both 8-2 right now coming to the end of week 5, which is good for Fnatic because they are going to want to get themselves potentially as close to XL as possible, and then pending other results, may even still be able to claim that first spot away, because I think XL are actually 10-0 right now in the standings because I think they've got no losses. Oh, no, they haven't played yet. Ha! I was just assuming that they're going to beat Demise, which is coming up next. That's a bit of a BM. Sorry, guys. But realistically, Fnatic are in a good spot now to continue to pressure up for that top spot. It's still within their grasp. There's still plenty of opportunity for Fnatic to come back and stake their rightful claim at the top end of the standings. I think Phelan played well, though. I do. I think that the early game for them was good. I think they definitely sort of got some advantages where Fnatic made mistakes. But the one thing that I will say about Fnatic is that they find one mistake, and that was Jack Spectra. One mistake, and they cascade it so easily.
Absolutely. It feels like you have to be perfect all game to beat them. We have seen that from XL and Barrage, but a lot of the other teams do struggle to keep that consistency throughout in terms of challenging them. So a strong performance from Fnatic. And I think the big thing is watching XL, because as you said, challenging for that first place spot. With the way things are at the moment, even if Fnatic beat XL, they don't get first.
Yes.
Fnatic have to beat XL and another team has to beat them out just to tie. So it's conditional on XL losing to someone else, which based on the game against M&M is more possible than we thought. But
I mean, XL have still got Barrage and Fnatic to play before the end of the season, so there's plenty of shifting that can happen. Barrage did not look fantastic today, of course, but they've looked pretty stellar throughout the entire split so far. And like you said, XL looks shaky. We'll see what they're like up against Demise. That'll be a good tell of where XL are coming into the latter half of the UKLC. So after a short break, we'll dive into our final game of the day where XL might go 10-0.